Val, this is Chris. Can you give an audio check?
Okay, can you hear me now? You should be able to hear me.
Yeah, we have you loud and clear, Val.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Ask me if you can send me the.
Nothing but the best here tonight.
Good. Yeah, you're rolling it all out the right carpet, and I look forward. So Val, you should see, at least on the Carbon County Commissioner page, this should also already be live streaming. If you want to move it around a little
Okay.
bit, I'm going to start doing that here because there'll be a few minutes, obviously, before they get started here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're just waiting on Bill Olson to show up. He's got the link, so. So you're using OBS.
Yeah, I'm having a little, we're having a visual problem right now.
Oh, okay. Oh, nice. It's 82 degrees here in New York today. 82. Nice. How warm was it up there?
Was it close to 70?
72 maybe?
Yeah.
Oh, it's cooler.
Always a little cooler than in the city.
It is.
Mhm.
It's 73 degrees right now.
Oh, that's nice. I think it's like 80. Watch says 81 here in York. So it's always a little warmer here. Just a few degrees.
Chris, I'm gonna go print out the agenda.
All right, yeah, sure.
copy of the treasurer's report.
Thank you.
For you? For you? Christian, thank you for helping me out today.
Yeah, no problem.
Evan?
That went fine. It was really easy to get out. I just built a list in Outlook.
That's Lenape.
Lenape,
Oh, thank you.
you're welcome. I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said it was really easy. Just built a list in Outlook. And if you need to do it that way,
Okay.
from now on, it's fine. Just send that thing and I can quick. send it
Oh, perfect. You're easier to communicate with
out.
sometimes. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
So I put the cards out here too. If anybody wants to take some or look at them, this is envelopes in the back one if you take them. So if we, it might be good to have a few.
I see Bill Olson has joined us. There he is.
Hey, Val.
How are you?
Good to see you, sir.
I don't think I've seen you face to face since the 90s.
Does this count as face to face?
Yeah, I guess it kind of does.
Well, you look the same.
Yeah, you do too. Yeah, I mean, I get down to Springfield once in a while at the headquarters, but I mean, you're not normally there, so I don't run into you.
Returning to the mothership.
Yeah, yes. Well, I posted your GK Chesterton quote on Microsoft Teams for everybody, and I said it should be our motto. So I'm waiting for reactions.
Love it.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I'm on time for once. It's a good day.
Are you home?
No, I'm still at work.
Oh, okay.
If I go home, I have to work too hard.
I hear you.
I don't have a fancy microphone and a big banner.
Well, I have a green screen, so I can put in anything up behind me I wanted. I could have elephants going, rhinos, whatever you want back there, videos playing. Yeah, I got a green screen and I got the Shure SM7B mic because I do a lot of studio and interview work. So, and if you use the background in Zoom without the green screen, you kind of like blend in and blend out and it doesn't look good.
It's not like President Biden with a green screen where his hand goes into the microphone.
From his basement. Anyway, I didn't say that.
You got to get these books organized behind me so I don't look like it's as disorganized as we truly are.
Yeah, I mean, it's like everything's a mess here. That's why I use a green screen and be like, wow. They'll think it's coming from Calcutta or something like that.
I've just been reading about the Philadelphia challenge to preemption, the litigation pending. It's every government official wants to regulate more and more and more.
Yes, indeed. Oh, you're talking about the Philly ghost gun ban?
No, it's called Crawford
Oh,
versus Commonwealth. It's Philadelphia sued Pennsylvania because they were frustrated not being able
yeah. We're supposed to do a brief on that, I think, right?
I Perhaps, if so, it's not on our calendar yet, so
Yeah, I know that the chair of the House Republican Caucus hasn't informed us of the timing yet. Not the chair of the council.
well, let me know, because it's scheduled for argument in, I don't know, a couple of months or something.
All right, I'll when we're done, I'll email him. Is Lukasevich coming to this?
We have a forum.
What, that dirty rat?
You got Chris Lukasevich?
Yeah. Okay.
You hear that? They said, yeah, Chris is
Yeah.
savage.
I'm operating the computer right now, Val.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sitting at the other end of the camera.
Is it good for Chris and I to sit up there?
Whoever's gonna be speaking more often than not, yeah,
I'm not gonna
absolutely.
speak. You're running the meeting.
It's working.
Yeah.
It's working.
Only
Well,
two colonels can call each other by their last names.
All right, all right.
You want me to speak, though?
You know what? I think that the easiest way, Chris, Christian said,
Hmm.
just let her.
It's not
transcribe it from
begun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, since it's recorded, she can just go word for word off the.
Yep.
I don't know why. Because I don't think those will.
Good, now I have a chair for myself. This is pretty techy,
Yeah, are the screens on up there?
yeah.
All right.
That's nice. Taking us to a whole new level.
That's new, huh?
All right, well, I guess what time is it? Should we wait a few minutes? Is it 5:00?
No, you're about 5 out.
Oh, we're
Five
later.
after.
Yeah,
Your
it's
clock
fine.
is wrong.
Clock's wrong. It's right, place it in.
All right, so call the meeting to order and start with pledge of allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so I'm going to start this meeting and welcome Brandon Bell, and we have Val Finelli.
Please have the.
No, yes.
Bring it within about 4 inches of your mouth or face. You'll see a green light. It'll be.
Got it. And William Olson. And they have joined us today to talk about the Second Amendment sanctuary ordinances. And there's Robbie Cressley.
Hello.
Oh, hi, Rob. So with that in mind, I'll let Brandon start the meeting off with their presentation.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brandon Bell. A lot of people kind of already know who I am. I'm the lead advocate in Carbon County right now, pushing the Second Amendment sanctuary. Dr. Val Finnell, he's gonna handle a lot of the more technical stuff, him and the legal team. So tonight, honestly, I'm gonna take a little step back than my usual. A lot of the municipalities I've already been in contact with. Everyone kind of knows as far as what my goal is and has spoken to me. But the big question now is legality and more the legal side of things. So Dr. Val Finnell, if you want to kick that section, I think you guys would handle it better than I.
Yeah. Is that all you wanted to say, or did you have anything else?
I can go into the local stuff after you. I think right now I want to focus on the legal side, so that way the municipalities who are joined with us right now, they can get the stuff they need to get rolling on this movement.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier today, and I'm just going to start for a few minutes and just give a little background information about the Second Amendment sanctuary ordinance movement, where it got started, kind of where we are in Pennsylvania with that right now, so that you can all get up to speed. So this whole thing started in April of 2018 in Effingham County, Illinois. It was like the first county to basically say there would be a Second Amendment sanctuary. And since that time, it is swept across the country. And this is a very fluid number I'm going to give you. There's like 1,188 sanctuary counties across America. And then they have various ways they've implemented that, whether through ordinances or resolutions. That's just like a big number for everything. I believe in Virginia, it's well over 90% of the counties are Second Amendment sanctuaries due to the draconian gun control policies of Governor Northam. And as I said, they come in two varieties. There's ordinances, which is what GOA has developed. We developed a model Second Amendment sanctuary ordinance to use nationwide. And then we took that ordinance and we crafted it for use in Pennsylvania. We actually had a gun rights attorney, Mike Giormita in Philadelphia, kind of looked at it and honed it down a bit for us. And those ordinances do things like forbidding the spending of county funds and providing penalties if local officials enforce unconstitutional gun control laws. That's sort of the essence of the ordinance. And the resolutions, as you all know, are really statements of support that they really don't do much. These things, they've been enacted at the state and the local levels. First on the state level, in Pennsylvania, we actually have two bills in the legislature that are going to try to make the entire state Second Amendment sanctuary. It's House Bill 357 by Darrell Metcalf, and we have one we're working on with Senator Mastriano, which is GOA's bill. That will be any day now. We're going to get a bill number. And nationwide, there are 10 states that have passed these. Alaska, Idaho, Kansas, and Wyoming. And then this year, we have new ones: Arizona, Oklahoma, North Dakota, Arkansas, and just today, West Virginia, our neighboring state of West Virginia. And as far as the status in Pennsylvania, there are two townships that have passed our ordinance, Buffalo Township in Union County and West Manheim Township here in York County. All their places in PA right now have passed resolutions. It's my count. There could be more. Just depends on, how you pick up the information. 14 counties, 6 boroughs, 9 townships. But why an ordinance? And this kind of leads into what our discussion is tonight. First, an ordinance sends a stronger message than a resolution because it actually has teeth. It actually does something. GOA's ordinance prohibits expenditures of funds and forbids enforcement of the enumerated unlawful acts which are in that ordinance. And the penalties listed are what is permitted for a county under state law. As you know, the threat to this right now is, to us is largely the federal government. The Biden administration and Congress are moving anti-gun bills like HR 8 and HR 1446. Biden has called for new quote unquote assault weapons bans, basically a semi-auto ban. They're executive orders. They're going to try to achieve things which are blatantly unconstitutional. And the other thing about the Second Amendment sanctuary ordinances on the local level, whether county or municipality, is even though we have the state bills that are going through, our governor is likely to veto them. And because of that, and there's not enough votes to override it, we're still going to push it. But if it doesn't get overridden, then it's going to really fall to, each of us, us meaning various counties across Pennsylvania and municipalities, when we all raised our right hand. I know Chris and I raised our right hand to take an oath to the Constitution, and anyone in public office has done so as well, that it's going to be really come down to, if worse comes to worse, the localities, the counties basically saying, we're opting out. We're not going to enforce this. And getting into the legality of this, the Constitution is above any statutory law, whether, that's the preemption law or the Dillon rule. But nevertheless, we don't believe that GOA's ordinance violates the preemption law. And we even built that language into the ordinance in section 3B. We're not regulating firearms. What we're basically saying is, hey, if any of these unconstitutional things come down the pike, which are enumerated in the ordinance, then we're just going to opt out. We're not going to enforce these things. And it's particularly important in places that have police power, municipalities that have police departments, or sheriff's department that would cooperate with a federal agency. And in our state bill that we constructed with Senator Mastriano, we actually looked at Pennsylvania's 1847 personal liberty law, and we put which was our refusal, the state's refusal to cooperate in the Fugitive Slave Act, and we kind of built it on that. Plus, the 10th Amendment Center had the model language, and it's essentially the same thing at the local level. We're basically saying it's a non-commandeering principle. We're not going to be part and parcel to enforcing what we believe to be unconstitutional laws. So with that, I know there have been some objections that have been raised by solicitors and perhaps other quote unquote pro-gun organizations that have opposed this. And we certainly disagree with that view. And I know that's the concern that you all have, and we're here to address that tonight. And so I'd like to ask Bill if he wanted to chime in now and talk a little bit about some of those specific objections.
Sure, Val. Actually, first, I'd like to go back and just give even a slightly broader historical perspective to the concept of state and local resistance to usurpation of constitutional power by the federal government, because this is really the third wave that we can trace historically in the development of this type of resistance. The first came in the 1790s with the Alien and Sedition Acts, and there Jefferson and Madison developed the Kentucky and Virginia resolutions. And being a lawyer in Virginia, not in Pennsylvania, we're very fond of the Virginia resolutions and how they pushed back against the Federalist effort to quash dissent against their particular political party and their candidates. And that pretty much kept the government in line for quite a few years, until the state anti-commandeering laws came up, where northern states were saying we're not going to return slaves to the South. And of course, the famous case that Val was referring to, Prigg versus Pennsylvania, where Joseph Story said, yeah, it's true that federal law is supreme over state law, but we're not going to make the states complicit. We're not going to require them to cooperate. And there were the ways in which the states refused to cooperate are legendary historically, because they were so much more bold than what we're even talking about right now. I'll just give you one illustration, which I looked up. The Massachusetts legislation came up with all these obstacles to returning slaves to southern states. Just a couple of these. The official who authorized the removal of the individual under the Fugitive Slave Act was deemed to have resigned from his state government office and forfeit eligibility to any future office. Any attorney assisting in the removal of a slave was barred from practicing law. Any sheriffs could be fined between $1,000 and $2,000. Imagine what that is in current dollars, and jailed for 1 to 2 years, and no jail could be used to house a slave. So we had that period of resistance. Wisconsin had a case that went to the Supreme Court, and then even after the Supreme Court ruled, they said, nah, we're not going to cooperate. So that was the second wave of state and local and resistance to federal government power. There was one that I got involved with, which was the first one we know in this 20th century. It was in Virginia, resisting the National Defense Authorization Act of 2012, which authorized the Army to pick up U.S. civilians on the street, hold them without record, without public disclosure, without counsel. It was a remarkable thing, and we were able, working by bipartisan way, a lot of Democrat support to this, to pass a law in Virginia that said Virginia would not cooperate, would not share information, and it was the sort of the first wave. It wasn't a gun issue. But now we're into this period where everyone sees what's coming down the road. Beto O'Rourke, who fortunately isn't in the Biden administration, said, hell yeah, we're going to take your guns. And people know what's coming. And there are actually 28 states that have now had some kind of legislation introduced to resist. 3 of them have passed: Arizona, Montana, and North Dakota. And even today, we saw a new development, Val, I'm sure you saw this, that Arkansas had an override of Governor Hutchison's veto. The Senate overrode by, I think it was 21-12, his veto, which would resist the federal government in remarkable ways. I mean, again, making anything in the Pennsylvania law or ordinance look mild, because it said that any law that infringed on the Second Amendment or the Arkansas Constitution was null and void, including the National Firearms Act and the Gun Control Act of 1968. Remarkable. And this is about to become law in Arkansas. So issue is being joined. People are stepping up. This is not radical. This is what the founders thought. If you don't believe it, take a look at Federalist 46 and 51. Madison in 46 expected the people to resist. He called it the disquietude of the people. He expected the governors to resist. He expected the state legislators to resist. And too many times we've gone along with these things and not resisted. And you know, the basis for the resistance is really not an exercise of a regulatory power over guns. It's not implementing a new regulation. It doesn't trigger preemption. It's not an effort by a state or by a locality to exercise a power over guns. It's to say, we're not going to let you exercise a power you don't have over guns. It's barring enforcement. It isn't implementing a new restriction. So I think it's carefully designed. Historically, it's fairly moderate. And at some point, we're going to have to empower each other. When states see what Arkansas is doing, more states are going to do more things. When Manheim Township and these others have taken the lead, they're going to encourage others to do the same. And here's an opportunity, hopefully, for more and more localities in Pennsylvania to join on. The more that join on, the more that will join on. The more that do join on, the greater the resistance, and the more likely it is we're able to preserve these constitutional freedoms. So I'd be glad to speak to any of it, but that's plenty for now.
Val, hey, this is Chris. I have a question, and we were talking a little bit ago about proclamations, resolutions, ordinances. Some would argue that something is better than nothing. So is a proclamation and a resolution better than nothing?
Nothing, but if you have a choice, why not do the better thing? That's sort of my, my answer to that would be do the right thing, do the better thing, and rather than just something.
Yeah, well, for an example, on a board of commissioners, it takes 2 of 3 to do what might be considered the right thing or might be considered doing the wrong thing. So does that not create a dilemma for an individual? Let's say if a resolution or a proclamation was brought up for a vote, the individual thought an ordinance was necessary. You vote no for the resolution and proclamation. The movement, whatever that movement would be, guns could be an example, the Second Amendment, you've just lost an ally in a year or two, potentially, because it's going to be used against the individual. This is in an area like this, if you would vote against a proclamation or resolution for 2A, I suspect you would be challenged politically and put yourself in a precarious situation, thus losing a long-term ally for whatever movement that might be.
Yeah, and my answer to that would be, don't draft a resolution and just consider the ordinance and adopt the ordinance. And then you don't have that problem.
Yeah, but again, if you don't control the chair or the agenda, what's on the table for the motion made is what you have to deal with. But again, I always say take the moral high ground and do what you believe is right, and right. You'll deal with the consequences.
Mm-hmm.
So does anybody else have questions? I have a couple, but I just, is there anyone else here that has questions regarding this? Okay. Just one question I have is a couple questions, because I agree with a lot of what you're saying. And I think there's a lot of usurpation going on in our government, but it's not just about gun rights. Does this open the door for a lot of other issues that are facing our country right now? But this, I think there are a lot of people perceive it as political. Does it create more of a divide? I guess that's a second question. And looking at it from a municipality, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. But from what I've read in knowing you were coming, well, I'm stacking my questions, but I'm trying to understand the need for this, because there's only been prohibition on the 21st Amendment was the only time it's been challenged. The Constitution has been challenged. I don't know that it's going to change, and maybe you could explain that better for me.
You want to take that one, Bill?
I'm not sure what you mean about prohibition.
Just during the prohibition was the only time there was an amendment added to the Constitution that overturned what's being said in the Constitution. That was
Well, it was repealed. It was
right.
It was enacted and repealed.
The,
That's what you mean, right?
Right.
Okay.
It seems like a very different scenario here, where we're not arguing with any deficiency in the language in the Constitution. It could not be more clear in either the Second Amendment or the Pennsylvania Constitution as to what is precluded. Unfortunately, there's powerful interests with Mayor Bloomberg on down to all the way to the local level, where people feel that the words don't mean anything. And, there are some people who think we have to change the Constitution now and have an Article 5 convention to make some of these changes. But the problem has never been the words of the Constitution. We've worked in the area of constitutional law for 45 years. I've filed 250 amicus briefs on public policy issues, almost all having to do with constitutional issues, and litigated many constitutional cases. And I've yet to find a single provision of the Constitution that has been an impediment to personal liberty. And what I'm afraid of is that if those provisions ever change, then it's only going to get worse. And so what we have to do is give meaning to the ones that are there, rather than resist the temptation to tweak the words. The words are not the problem. It's the heart of the rulers.
No, I agree with that. I'm just trying to wrap my mind around what this opens up, because we are losing freedoms of speech every day. We're losing a lot of freedoms every day. And I don't know, I think that on a blanket statement, I'm agreeing 100% with, we need our rights, but I also feel like there are a majority of Americans support the Second Amendment. And I'm questioning, why is this different from freedom of speech, right? Just as an example. And I'm just trying to understand it better.
Kara, this is Chris Hoffner from the Borough of Palmerton. I just feel that people feel the Second Amendment is being threatened.
Mm-hmm.
And probably freedom of speech, First Amendment is equally as threatened. We just addressed that in the Borough of Palmerton in amending an ordinance addressing that. I voted no for our resolution for the Second Amendment in the Borough of Palmerton. And I stated in my response, I voted no because I felt that it was redundant, that the constitutional Second Amendment superseded any state and local law. And I furthermore said that I'm a proud gun owner. I have more guns in my house than people, but I felt it was redundant. And I feel it's political. You know, I've been hearing since 1994, every time we have a Democratic president, they're coming to get your guns, they're coming to get your ammunition. And people go out and buy more guns and more ammo. So that's my position. Obviously, people feel differently, but so.
But again, I guess my question is just, how do we protect all of our rights that are being pulled away from us? And is there a way that, and this is probably out of the bounds of what you can do, but is there a way that we can support all of it? If that makes sense. I know that's.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying, and here's how I'd respond to some of the things that were just said. So we have to look at philosophically and also religiously where our rights come from and where they originate from. So your right to the Declaration of Independence, you know, when Jefferson said all men are created equal, they are endowed by their creator with inalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Our rights come from God and from our creator. And Jefferson goes on to say that in the Declaration that it's the duty of the government to secure and protect those rights. So the government is not the guarantor, or I should say the giver of our rights. They're there to the proper role and scope of government, as outlined by Jefferson, is to protect and secure those rights that are given to us by our creator. And because they are given to us by God, they cannot be violated by any man. And this was the genesis for some of the previous resistance movements that we've seen, particularly with slavery. You know, it's an inalienable right to be free as a human being made in the image of God. And so to say that, well, it's redundant to have a Second Amendment sanctuary ordinance, it would be like saying, like in 1847, it's redundant to have a personal liberty law because we all understand that, you know, human beings are made in the image of God. No, absolutely not. If you really believe that, then you take steps to actually implement something that shows that you really believe that, and not just pay lip service to it. And that's what was done historically. It's what happened when Bill was talking about the NDAA in 2012 in Virginia. I think it was unanimous, wasn't it, Bill, in the Virginia legislature?
It was in the House or the Senate. It was remarkable. There were 3 votes against, I think, in the House or something.
Oh, really? Okay.
It was
close.
It was just incredible.
Right. So it's one of those things. And Jefferson talks about, we hold these truths to be self-evident, you know, and, you know, self-evident truths are something that we, you know, under the natural law, we recognize that where these rights come from. And if we truly believe that, if we truly believe where those rights come from, then it's our duty, which is the reason we swear an oath of the Constitution. I'm a sworn officer of the United States. Chris is a sworn officer and also a sworn elected official. It means something. Our oath actually means that we are going to support and what's it say? I will support and philosophically assent. I will support and think it's an idea. No, it says I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And so that actually means defend means you actually do something. So it is true that it's a self-evident truth, but if you really believe it is, then you stand your ground and you defend that.
Let me just add one thing. What's going to happen here is that when these laws are enacted, and I take them at their word, if they can get them through, they will. If these are enacted and there is they see passivity, it simply encourages them. If they see resistance, it discourages them. I don't want to have a civil war. I don't want to have a fight. I don't want this to break out with them overstepping their authority. They have no self-limiting principle. They have no constraint on their activities. They don't believe what Val said, of course, about these being natural rights and God-given rights. Matter of fact, by the way, if you ever need this, Robinson Township versus Commonwealth 2013 says that the concept that certain rights are inherent to mankind and thus are secured rather than bestowed by the Constitution, has a long pedigree in Virginia that goes back at least to the founding of the Republic. It's a wonderful statement, but now those are words, they're parchment barriers. Now the question is, who's going to stand up and defend this? And this is one of those paradoxes, like peace through strength. The more resistance that the tyrant meets before they take the step of aggression against their people, the less likely they are to be aggressive against their people. You increase the odds. If other municipalities see what you do, they're encouraged, they're heartened. And then all of a sudden, the tyrant sees a unified body of localities and is less likely to do something incredibly stupid. Not impossible, but much less likely. And if it happens, you have interposed yourself to protect the people from what the rulers are going to do. They're not going to arrest the elected officials. They're going to come in and start taking guns, and if Beto O'Rourke is right, from the people. And it's the job of the lower magistrate, the lesser magistrate, to get in the way and say, you have to come through us. And that's what this does. It says, number one, we're not going to participate. And number two, you're not going to get away with it. Not here.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate, it does lead to a peaceful solution, which is what this is all about.
Are there any other questions? But I thank you all very much for sharing your time with us today and sharing your point of views. I do appreciate you coming and talking us to it, because I know that there's a lot of questions about this. I would love to talk to you for an hour about this, actually, but I work with the rights of local self-government, so I think we're on the same page on a lot of these issues, and the tyrants, and coming down, and all these issues. This is one way that standing up against that. I think there's other options as well, but I do appreciate your point of view on things, and thank you very much for sharing your time with us today.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting us to the meeting. It's greatly appreciated.
And Val, we're going to see you on Thursday, correct?
Yep, I'll be there.
Okay, and we'll brief you up once you get here, let you know, to make sure everything's on camera and stuff like that when you guys make your public comments on Thursday. That'll be great. We look forward to hosting you, and we appreciate the insight and education that you provided the Board of Commissioners when we had our conversation. Very insightful, so thank you.
Hey, you're welcome.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Val.
Thank you, Brandon.
Yeah. Thank you, Brandon. And we'll see you also on Thursday, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
I just have one question for Brandon. Do you have a copy of the revised ordinance?
I have the Gun Owners of America ordinance, which is the one we've been pushing out. And then there's the individual resolutions that have been passed in each municipality, save kind of vary.
I'm looking more for the ordinance.
I can get it to you. I don't have one on me, so I can get it to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we don't have a quorum, I don't think.
We need a third. We have 7.
Yeah, we have 7.
We have 7.
4, 5, 6.
7.
So,
But Robbie.
oh, Robbie, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Robbie. I didn't even recognize you at first. I thought you were one of the panelists.
He always wears a hat.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't have a hat on. I'm in the house. I'm not allowed to have a hat on.
Oh.
Wow.
Cool.
Well, thanks for calling in.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so I guess we do have a quorum. So do we want to approve the March minutes? You can move to approve them.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
All right, Chris and Christian.
This is Robbie. I'll second them.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We do not have a copy of the treasurer's report. Everybody should have received that in their emails. I don't know if we want to vote on
I
that.
would move that we table it until the next meeting unless there's something pressing that needs to be addressed at this
No.
immediate moment.
No, I don't think there was any,
All right.
there were no extravagant.
All right, then I'd ask for a
Expenses and-
second to table.
Got one? Second? Dennis?
Second it.
Okay.
Sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. So I got some bad news this week. Jay Miller is going to be stepping down as treasurer in December. And as I put on the agenda, he has served our COG amazingly well, and his insight and attention to details will be missed. Good news is we have somebody who's willing to step up as a replacement, but I think we should have a discussion. Christian offered to fill in if there were nobody else interested in it. I don't know that there is.
Well, we elect officers in
December,
November.
So is that all right with everyone? We don't have to make a decision now.
No. Thank you, Christopher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
whatever I can do to help.
We don't have to pull people's teeth,
All right, yeah.
or arms, or noses.
Mm. If I could make a recommendation that we send a formal request then to the borough of Jim Thorpe and asking that they backfill. I'm assuming he's going to step back from treasurer and be in the borough representative.
I'm assuming that. I just got the email from him
All right.
this week.
I guess
so-
we should clarify, because I would ask that we send a formal request to the borough to be prepared to appoint a new member as soon as their council is sworn in after the general election.
So Kara, I didn't see his letter. Was he resigning as treasurer or resigning as a representative to the COG from the borough?
It just.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I'm trying to find. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it was an email discussion, so I just wanted to bring it up.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I haven't had the conversation with him yet.
Oh, okay.
So I will do that and get more information before our next meeting. So if there's no more discussion on that, then I'll go down to the outreach committee. We're mostly talking about our annual event. Christian has taken the lead on that, and we can get the Whispering Pines for $275. We in the committee are looking to do it on the last weekend or the last Tuesday of October. So the reason we were looking at that, having it the last Tuesday, is because I remember Wayne going through with all of trying to find a date for our meeting, and there are literally municipal meetings every day except the last. So we figured that it would be a good time to have it and just have it in place of our meeting. And if there's any outstanding business that we need to take care of, maybe we start that before the event. Is there, Christian, you're running with this, do you have anything to add or?
No, we just have to kind of decide a little bit, on some more things, how exactly we want it to run, who we're going to invite. If we're going to do more foods and hors d'oeuvres, drinks, things like that. So just, the actual workings of it have to be decided upon. But once we hammer that out, it should be pretty easy going.
So, and our committee will continue to work on that with Christian. But if there's any other input or thoughts or ideas, we really appreciate hearing that, so that, every opinion can help to build the event the way we need it to go. And then it'll progress as it will. Is there anything else on that, Christian?
Nothing new.
Okay. So the next,
Let me ask though, do you want me to officially confirm that day that's gonna require us to pay them? I don't know exactly what the net on that will, you know what I mean, how long.
So is there a deposit and then a cancellation fee normally in case?
They do it differently.
Yeah.
So this would be a more considered a municipal meeting than a sort of event, so
Yeah.
we get a reduced rate. I don't know if they have any specific policy stuff surrounding that. But I would also make the assumption that if we're going to book it for that day, then we're going to pay them at that point in time that we make the booking. So I don't know if we want to vote to do that officially at this point, so we can get the ball rolling on making sure that, you know, that is blocked off for us. If we decide that's the only day in October we can do it, you know, we might want to act on that before other people start making reservations.
and Christian showed me the calendar, and they're already booking up in October. So it might just be wise to just get the facility and fill in the details as we go.
I'm sure they'd be lenient on us when it comes to payment and things like that, but I'm just saying, we have the money in the account to pay them, should we have to do it tomorrow. But, you know, I think it would be wise to actually reserve that date officially.
So would you like to make a motion to reserve
I'll
it?
make the motion.
Okay. So that's Dennis
I'll second
and
it.
Christian seconds it. So then we'll go ahead and reserve that. That would be the date of our October meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, good. That's a first step. So down to the equipment rental. There were a few questions that came up. We had a issue this month with, we had to move them. So the equipment is now being stored in Perryville, the street sweeper and the asphalt zipper. We're working with Chris and the county as far as storing it in the county over the winter. But just so that everybody is aware, it is Doug Hawk that we need to reach out to. It's not Nevin anymore. So Doug Hawk will be doing the trainings for the street sweeper. And he will be doing the inspections and taking care of all of that for us. And he is not here tonight. I was going to invite him so he could talk a little bit about the process. But unfortunately, he's not feeling very well.
Do we have any indication from our COG representative from Mahoning Township why we were given this notice to vacate?
No, we just that letter that I shared with you. So I
It'd
don't
be
know.
interesting to see the minutes, or again, what predicated this act. It was very short notice. You guys responded really quickly to us and stuff like that, but personally, I was taken aback by it.
Yeah.
That, you know, we weren't informed, at least informally, hey, there's this discussion going on, you know, then we could have been better prepared to manage the transition of the equipment and stuff like that. It just, again.
The history of that, Chris, you know, they offered first of all to store the equipment, the asphalt zipper and the street sweeper.
Can
And
you make sure the mic's
Oh,
on
I'm
here?
sorry. Sure.
Just for Rob.
I might even take this off.
Yeah.
The history of this is that they offered to store the equipment. They actually hosted the training session for the street sweeper. And we had a lot of people. Sam, you were there that day. I don't know. We actually had too many people for a training session that day. And people got like 10 minutes on the machine. That was a fiasco because of that. And Nevin Fry was really helpful. He's the head of their maintenance department. He was helpful in changing the brushes, scheduling. He was a real asset. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if their supervisors felt that he was doing too much and he should have been doing that for the COG or what. Of course, the understanding was that they could use that street sweeper anytime they wanted, and there was no charge. then what happened is, of course, last winter was mild. They didn't use it. They had furloughed some of their employees. They didn't do any street sweeping, part of it because it was mild in winter. And then it came to, was it April? And I got a call from Doug Hawk, who called you and said, well, here's the story. We've been thrown out of Mahoning Township. So, and I made the decision then, Doug, to bring it to Perryville, since he is the one that is doing the training. So in other words, he takes a street sweeper from Perryville and takes it to the municipality where he's doing the training and brings it back there. And with the understanding that they can use that as well as the asphalt zipper anytime they want in Perryville. So, as well as the county, you know, so that's where we are. Dennis.
I just have a question to satisfy. It's $400 a day, the use of the.
It's $500 a day, but that also includes the training. So it'll include everything. It's not going to be complicated like we had it where it was $800 plus the $100 of training that covered the cost of our equipment. So because of the kindness and of the county, we were able to reduce our costs and pass that on to the municipalities. But it seemed to make a lot more sense to just consolidate the training in there and have Doug go and have one person that's responsible for doing it.
I really want to get off the subject, but I have to ask, do we have any bookings?
You should. I know Nesquehoning is.
Oh, good.
And Beaver Meadows was supposed to get it today, but
Yeah.
under the circumstances that can't happen until next week.
Oh, okay.
So that's all on the equipment rental. Does anybody have any questions or concerns regarding that? Wow, that's like the fastest discussion we've had on our equipment since we've had equipment.
That's how it should be every time.
Yeah, I agree. So that brings us to the municipal auction, and Chris, I'll let you talk to that a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit of update. We've been having discussions. The Board of Commissioners have agreed to host and serve as, let me call it the lead agency for a municipal auction, and that's all inclusive, all 24 municipalities, COG members and non-COG members. And it is our intent to do an RFP. We've had our purchasing officer out of the office for a couple of weeks, so just started re-engaging with her on Monday. And the first thing is we're trying to confirm a date, and we are looking for late September. Tentatively, we are looking at a weekend, the 18th or the 25th, which is a Saturday. Obviously, even though it's not quite in fall foliage, as we all see down here, Saturdays and Sundays are busy. And even though we'd be using what we refer to now as Zone 1, which is up by the bridge, what is now a gravel area, and then up to our maintenance shed, we could probably have a really, really big draw to basically what would be a countywide auction. Plus you have to lay out everything and make it visible. So, we're kind of going back and forth, is it going to force us into a weekday auction, which doesn't, it has its pluses and minuses. So we're struggling a little bit on a final decision on the date, but our aspiration is, by mid-May, to definitely have a firm date so that we can, push an RFP out. Because again, we want to minimize the cost, maximize the return. And if we simply went to one individual to do it, the likelihood of having the best offer may not occur. And obviously the fiscal responsibility that we have. The one request we did have for the COG is to appoint one individual to serve as the focal point and coordinator and really the intermediary between the county and all the COG member municipalities. The non-COG member municipalities, the couple of them that there are, we wouldn't have a problem with them coming direct to us. However, what we're gonna ask if the COG does designate a representative, since it's only potentially 2 or 3 more municipality, would he or she serve as a focal point for all municipalities? And therefore, as best as possible, we would channel information to him or her, who would then disseminate it. Same thing coming in. So, our office staff isn't overrun with, hundreds of little questions every day and, things that probably aren't necessary decisions that need to be made at the commissioner level, but could be handled at a lower level. So that's what we would seek and ask. And then we would involve him or her in all conversations that have to do with that, to include what we think would be a fair, cost of participation, percentage from sales and stuff like that. And we'd want to ensure that we're doing all we can, of course, to support the COG and to build up its financial solvency a little bit also, of course.
Well, I have good news for you.
Yeah.
Dennis Pearson in our committee meeting stepped up when I mentioned the need that
Great.
we had discussed. Dennis Pearson said he would be willing to do that.
Great.
So maybe Dennis, you can talk with Chris at some point in time and
Yep.
see what that means.
I will
And
talk to them, and he said he wanted the representative be in contact with non-COG members. Well, I am subject to abuse. I'll do that too.
Okay, good. Yeah. It's only 2 or 3 of them, so they might be the worst ones, but nonetheless,
Right now, I represent the National Space Society as assistant coordinator to 26 states east of the Mississippi. Now, that's
so we
only
didn't
10
tell
this
you
is
that we're sending an invitation to all the counties in all the surrounding states too, right?
You're right.
No.
Chris, have you discussed an auctioneer yet?
No, and that's gonna be
Okay.
that's what I'm talking about, the RFP. We are not gonna go to a particular one. We want to get the best deal possible.
Okay. When we did this before,
Yeah.
the auctioneer is the one that actually coordinated everything. Each municipality,
Mhm.
if I recall, contacted the auctioneer
And let them know what
with
they
the
have.
listing.
Yep.
So
That's what we're hoping, to minimize
That-
what he really needs to do. But we're thinking there will be certain administrative
oh,
matters
sure.
that the county might have to meet. And therefore, instead of us going to the 23 municipalities, that are outside of the scope of work for the RFP, because we're gonna make it as broad as possible in that, or as inclusive of the tasks as possible, so that we can minimize even what we're doing. For us, perfect would be, the day before we show up with all our equipment, and next thing you know, it's gone and money's coming into our account. Is so as close to that as we can get for
And
everyone.
that's how it was before.
Yeah,
It was the
and that's
day
what we're
before.
gonna see.
There was a window. And Dennis, the other thing is, I mean, you have a great resource with Bill Schwab, just to ask him, if you have a question that you can think of
Yeah.
about how that was run. He basically sat in your role last time we did this, of course. And it was the county, but it was just limited to the COG.
All right.
I think the county must have sold 8 buses that day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The old transit,
Yep.
Carbon County Community Transit. Yeah.
Some guy came and bought, I think, all of them.
Yep. I remember in the board meetings here watching him
Yeah.
go, the approval.
Amazing.
I think he was he from Wisconsin or something? He was from
Yeah.
kind up in Ohio, Wisconsin, somewhere up in that.
And stuff that you think as a municipality is junk, people buy it.
Yeah.
Old motors.
Mhm.
That's what's fun about these things.
Yeah.
I love an auction.
Yeah.
We had one of our councilmen buying other stuff there and bringing it.
And what day, did you guys do it on a weekend?
Yeah, we
You did, but
As
you
a
had
matter
a
of
different
fact,
location.
We did it in the morning because it
In the
was
morning?
at the East Penn Social Hall.
Yeah.
So I had a meeting that morning and they had already shut down by the time, like, it was an hour and a
Didn't take
half
long.
into it. It was,
And that's probably, if we do it on a Saturday, it's probably gonna be a 7 a.m., 7:30 start time. So, within 3 or 4 hours, you can get it done, get people out. That only has people coming in for the first train at 11 o'clock. So you can kind of get everyone back out of the lot before the crowds come.
oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, we'll see. That's all I have on that.
Well, thank you for all your work putting that together
Yeah.
too, Chris. So I have nothing under old business. The only thing under new business is next month I'm working to get fair districts. They do not do public meetings either. So we could probably set it up the same way unless there's any objection to that. And then if not, I will go ahead and move forward and fair districts can come speak. And then that will be our last speaking session until September. And then we have a few things online, the farmland preservation, DNL trail, and the semi-quincentennial. Yes. I was gonna say that 10 times fast. So that's coming next year, and there's, 250 years is we're celebrating, and Chris and the commissioners are gonna be appointing somebody to be in charge of that in our county, and maybe he can come and speak to what his needs are and how our Council of Governments can support that.
They have 5 years to come up with a good plan, right?
Yeah.
Which is a long volunteer time, but,
Yeah, so that's pretty
Mhm.
exciting.
Mhm.
As far as that goes, if anybody else has any other organizations or topics or anything that we would benefit our local communities, please feel free to let me know. And does anybody have any questions from their community for us? Any needs or for our community forum?
Well, just say this, the community forum that we're gonna have there now.
Well, I always like to ask at the end because there's ways that we can, we're having problems dealing with the railroad. How did you do this?
Well, just say this, the only thing I could report from East Bend Township is that we are working on a project with the D&L Trail as far as contacting Riverside Park with the trail without people going over the road.
Mm-hmm.
So is that gonna be a bridge, Dennis, over top of?
I don't know, all I know is we have a
895.
24,000 bill from Department of Engineering that we have to discuss on.
Okay, I just wonder how they're gonna do that. But the DNL trail is really, I think, as a result of COVID, the use of trails in general just really heated up.
Yeah,
People
and
have time on
also,
their hands. They
also
want
I
to get out and
advise
do
you
things.
to have your treasurers, whether it's for your volunteer fire companies or your township, to be keeping track of their checks right, because I don't want to get this out, but we're dealing with the fact that our volunteer fire company sent a check to PP&L and somebody commandeered it and changed the amount of money on it. Therefore, what may have been a $73 bill has now been cashed at $7,300.
Wow.
And I won't mention, and the funny thing is, the guy is stupid if he actually cashed it and put his name on it, because he could be traced back, but I won't mention.
Dennis, I just wanted to ask one more question. Maybe we can come back to that a little bit later. But Chris, I forgot to mention under the new business that we had talked earlier about the funding from the
The American
American
Rescue
Rescue
Plan.
Plan.
Yeah, I think the municipalities are well aware of the amount they're expected to receive from the American Rescue Plan. Of course, we're actually well into the period and expectation period to have received guidance from the Department of Treasury. And we continue to await the specificity of how we can expend those funds. The most recent kind of tidbit we got, and it was kind of a teaser, is, hey, this is what you need to do. Your SAM's number, your DUNS number, your EIN, have your financial institution available. That's the step that has occurred. And I believe that was early last week, that guidance was passed down to the counties and municipalities. Again, how to prepare for receipt of the money. However, we're still on pins and needles waiting for the actual Treasury's guidance. And again, the generalization is, responding, and we did meet with Senator Casey about this 2 weeks ago. It's responding to mitigate the public health emergency and its negative economic impact. Broad brush, think water, sewer, broadband infrastructure. We do know for the counties and that we can use it to make up revenue loss. But the reality is we don't have any revenue loss, from a county perspective. If we look at hotel tax, we're good. If we look at real estate taxes, the delinquency numbers are right about where we expected. So I think and I don't think, to be honest, around here, there's been a big impact when it comes to municipality revenue. And there might be some, but we know that is something, at least in this act, that we're going to be able to use it for, and we couldn't with CARES. Now the states can't do that. The states cannot make up for revenue loss, but that being directed to municipalities can be. So we're just waiting.
Well, that I've heard that question, and everyone's like, there's money coming, but nobody knows what it is, what they're doing with it. So I appreciate you updating us on
Yeah.
that.
It will come in one piece, according to our secretary. We get
Two
half of it in
tranches.
June,
Yeah.
And half of what's later.
Yeah, a year later, however, you have an expenditure requirement. A certain percentage has to be expended before they'll release that second tranche. But again, until Treasury gives us something in black and white, we're just brainstorming ideas, have a dry erase board full of good ideas, to spend it on.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you for that update, because I think it's been on a lot of our municipal minds.
Yeah.
And that being said, I think that we need a motion to adjourn if there's no
One
other
for good of
comments.
the order. I have one for good of the order.
Oh, good.
And I'll be candid, for on 2 consecutive annual commissioners meetings. So the first meeting, January 6th of 2020, and then here in January 2021, I made a motion to the Board of Commissioners that we would annually invite a representative from the local municipality, again, invite to present to the Board of Commissioners during a weekly meeting a state of the municipality update, in order that the Board of Commissioners could get a better sense of the needs, issues, and challenges of the community. Because right now it's really ad hoc, right? It's when there's a problem, you call, right? Understandably. But again, that's somewhat being reactive instead of really talking to the municipalities and understanding, what they want, or maybe the challenges they see on the horizon. So all I want to ask is that if you would go back to your representative bodies to see if there is an interest. And now, again, this is a personal initiative. I thought it was extremely important that once a year, every municipality should get 10 or 15 minutes. We got Times News, Blue Ridge Cable, Channel 39, Standard Speaker. So not only is it an opportunity for us to have some FaceTime together and understand the issues and challenges, but it's also a greater opportunity for the municipalities to get it out to the public, just because of who we bring to these meetings. So all I'm asking are the COG representatives to the municipalities just kind of canvass their particular municipalities to find out if there's a sincere interest at the grassroots level. If there isn't, I'm going to stop fighting on this particular motion. I think it's extremely important, but again, I can't want it more than you want it at the end of the day. That's all I have for the good of the order.
Chris, I just have a question regarding that.
Yeah.
So what you're saying, each municipality would come to one meeting a year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, basically
Just
what
for
we do, we'd
clarification.
send out, we'll say, we have about 50 meetings a year. We have 23 municipalities. So every other week, another one, we might start off with, really, random or alphabetical, just bring them in, offer one at a time to come in, have 15 minutes. Hey, this is how things are going. We have a discussion, and then we just move on with our commissioners meeting. Because again, we just have no formal contact. And to be honest, if it was me, it would be once every 2 weeks, we'd bring in another municipality and sit for 2 hours and BS and just have a conversation, with a couple representatives. We don't do that. I think it's unfortunate.
No, I think that I honestly feel like that's a really good idea. And I think it's important to get we talked about not being able, if you want government to flow from the bottom up, then you have to be able to get the information.
Yeah.
And we have problems getting information from our residents,
Right.
what they want,
Yeah.
so you need that from the municipalities. So I would
There's stovepipes.
support
Look,
that.
we have 3 silos here. Commissioners in our departments, the judiciary, right? And then the row offices. We have our own problems with communication. So we're trying to resolve those. And I think we should be trying to resolve the bottom up and down also. Again, I don't understand the resistance to something like that. To me, it just boggles my mind why anyone would not move a motion forward and vote on that. But again, that's neither here nor there.
I
at
agree
this
with
moment.
you.
Okay, that's all I have for the good of the order.
All right, well, thank you very much, Chris, for
Yep.
that. Appreciate it. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye. Good night, Robbie.
Opposed?
We're gonna
Good
say
night.
bye.
Thank you.
Hi, Robbie.
How you doing?